All right, let's talk about something that I know you've run into before. It's this weird, fascinating paradox. Why the most fluent native speakers of a language are often the absolute worst people to ask for grammar help. Today, we're going to get to the bottom of it. You know the scene, right? You ask a totally reasonable question like, hey, why do you say it this way instead of that way? And you just get this blank stare. And then they say it, I don't know. It just sounds right. It's so frustrating if you're trying to learn. Well, today we're going to find out exactly why that happens. So, this whole situation, it actually has a name. It's called the Fluent Speaker's Paradox. And it's this idea that the master of a language in practice can be a complete beginner when it comes to explaining the theory. I mean, it just feels completely backward, doesn't it? You'd think the person who's an absolute expert would be the best teacher. But with language, nope, that's rarely the case. They can speak it perfectly, but they can't tell you why it's perfect. So, what's the secret here? How do we crack this puzzle? Well, the very first clue, and it's a big one, comes down to this really important difference between learning a language and acquiring one. And trust me, they are not the same thing at all. Think of it like taking two totally different roads to get to the same city. Native speakers acquire their language. You know, as kids, they're not sitting there with flashcards, they're just immersed in it, soaking up the patterns without even thinking. But language learners, you guys study it. You're coming at it consciously with textbooks, dissecting sentences and memorizing the rules. And because of those two different paths, the way we end up actually using the language is worlds apart. For native speakers, it's pretty much all on autopilot. Their brain is just running the language program in the background without them ever having to think about it. So you gotta ask, right? If they're not actively thinking about grammar rules when they talk, what in the world are they running on? What's guiding them to speak so perfectly? The answer is this amazing thing we can call linguistic instinct. It's not about knowledge from a book, it's a powerful gut-level feeling. After years and years of hearing and speaking millions of sentences, their brain just knows what sounds right and what sounds weird. It's way more about a deeply ingrained intuition than it is about conscious knowledge. So for a native speaker, the journey kind of looks like this. Yeah, sure, they might learn some basic grammar rules in elementary school, but then real life just takes over. After years of using the language every single day, those formal rules get buried deep down in their memory. And that instinct, that feel for the language, it completely takes over the driver's seat. And this is exactly where the problem starts. That incredible autopilot system that makes them so fluent becomes their biggest weakness the second you ask them to explain the why. Their instinct is fantastic for speaking, but it's absolutely terrible for teaching. You know, it really boils down to this quote. Just because you can speak fluently doesn't mean you can teach clearly. It's like an Olympic sprinter. They can run incredibly fast, but they probably can't give you a lecture on the biomechanics of every single muscle firing in their legs. They just run. It's a completely different skill. And this is where you really see it in action. Go ahead. Ask an average native speaker to explain the subjunctive mood or define what a gerund is. I mean, they use these things flawlessly every single day, but the technical names and the rules behind them, it's a total mystery. They know how to use all the tools, but man, they threw out the user manual years ago. Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. This whole paradox isn't about who's smarter or who's better at the language. Not at all. It's about recognizing that we're talking about two completely different but equally valid types of mastery. It's really this simple. The native speaker's knowledge is intuitive. They check their work by asking, does this feel right? The learner's knowledge is technical. They check their work by asking, does this follow the rule? One learned by being thrown in the pool, the other learned by studying the physics of swimming. And at the end of the day, that's the heart of it. One person speaks from pure instinct. They're the master craftsman shaping the wood by feel. The other person understands the blueprint. They're the architect who knows every single measurement. And you know what? They're both experts, just with a different kind of expertise. Which leaves us with one last, really interesting question to think about. Who truly knows a language better? The one who can speak it flawlessly without a second thought, or the one who can take it apart and explain how every single tiny piece works? The answer, well, it might not be so simple after all.